What's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. All right, yeah, y'all see the title of the video. It seems like Candace Owens is just trying to destroy Turning Point USA at this point. And let me tell you all something. I didn't follow Turning Point USA or Charlie Kirk like that. I know what I saw when I saw this young man get executed in front of national television. And as opposed to Candace being a friend, she coming off like a scorned lover. The bottom line, I don't care if you like Candace or not. Why is she sitting here attacking Turning Point, knowing that the new CEO is his wife? And at what point is Erica Kirk going to tell her to shut the hell up? Because I think we at that point. I think we at that point, Erica Kirk, where you need to say something. Not that you should have to, but it's getting to that point where you're going to have to. And it's not going to be pretty when she does, Candace. Because you said only your husband and Erica Kirk can tell you to shut the hell up. Oh, okay. So when she says, back off, Candace, you back off. Because you're the one that said only she can tell you to shut the hell up. And I'm adding in some other verbiage just for the effects of it all. So before we get to Candace Owens and her blubbering and blah, 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 make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the Lady Luck Club. I am not here to try to be Candace Owens' friend or anything. She has her fan base of followers. I don't do my content for, people who are going to act like brainwashed cult members. I do this content to point out what she's saying and dispel or debunk lies that she's saying. And of course, I give my commentary and opinion on what I think. And that's what we're all entitled to. That's why I don't do commentary and videos for brainwashed cult members, because I'm not going to always agree with what you say. But what she's doing right now is unnecessary. Erica Kirk is still grieving the loss of her husband. Take what you want out of that. But she's grieving the loss of her husband. The last thing she should be worried about is someone that professed to be his best friend and little sister, or big sister, however the hell that went. They'll be running around here talking about, Turning Point USA owes her something. They don't owe Candace Owens anything. This is what she's failing to learn from being sued by the French president. They don't owe you anything, Candace. They never did, and they never will. They owe you nothing. You would think someone would tell her that. But no, keep letting her act like a spoiled brat, and she's going to get, put in check. When it happens, it's going to be epic. So hit the like button and subscribe to the Lady Luck Club. And of course, consider becoming a member here. I know I'm not for everybody, but it is what it is. Candace is actually out of line. I think she's out of line, and it's high time that she gets called out. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you for your support either way. I appreciate it. If you clicked on this video, it's because you want to hear what I got to say, whether you like it or not. We don't have to agree, and I'm sure you will leave your comments below in the comment section. Make sure you guys check out the Candace Owens YouTuber reactions compilation video that I've done. I think I'm gonna do another one, because this is getting crazy, and this is actually a good way to see what other content creators and people across the YouTube think. And many of us are just in agreement. It seems like it's funny. Now, the only ones that disagree are the people who follow Candace Owens and adhere to every word she says. It's ridiculous. You don't have to. You can disagree with her and still love her. I mean, All right, let's get to the first one here. I'm going to show a couple of videos.
I just want to say that I feel like at the beginning of this investigation, I was very clear. I said there will be no fakeness and there will be no gayness in this investigation. And apparently there were some people who did not take me seriously, or literally, because there are a lot of little lies being told, right? Charlie gets assassinated, and the very people who were threatening him reputationally and financially are now trying to memorialize him as having died as a friend of Israel. Okay, challenge accepted. All lies will be revealed, and we're going to help reveal those lies. Also, yesterday we asked for the public.
Candace, you got to show evidence and proof to reveal it. All right, it's all about integrity in your journalism at this point, whatever you proclaim to be. I'm an independent journalist, so where's the documentation and evidence? I don't think people would be questioning her if she showed proof, evidence not just giving her 2 cents and saying something's going to be revealed and then kind of leaving it out there into the, the air to let it happen. And however it falls, it depends on which way it goes, which predicates her response. She doesn't provide evidence, but she kind of let the chips fall as they may, and then she takes her stance from that. That is a sign of a person who doesn't have any documentation or proof to back up what they're saying. They put things out there, very general, basic stuff. And then when the chips fall where they may, see, I told you all this was XYZ. See, I knew it was going to happen this way. No, she didn't. She just kept it general so that you're not clear on what side she's on or what stance she's taking. And then when it falls down the pipeline, then she gives you all her stance on it. See what happened? Now you all believe me on this? When she never said in the beginning what she thought. When she never showed any evidence to support all of this nonsense coming out of her mouth. Because it's nonsense.
Help in identifying 2 individuals who Phil Lyman's nephew described as his close friends who decided to retrace the path of Charlie's killer. And what we have discovered thus far is absolutely stunning. The story couldn't get any crazier. By the way, I did speak to Phil Lyman, and I'll tell you what he told me and what he insisted that we clarify. Now, I would say that it's getting weird, but honestly, right from the jump, it's been weird. So welcome back to Candace.
Oh, my good Lord.
I presented to you guys in short that the gubernatorial candidate, Phil Lyman, was a bit, in my opinion, too involved in the investigation of who assassinated Charlie.
Did she say somebody's too involved? Let me put on a closed caption. I know damn well you're not saying somebody's too involved when you're sitting here acting as if you are the entire FBI unto yourself. Candace, you're too involved. And you don't think anyone else loved Charlie Kirk? For all of the, Candace Owens, diehard cultist fan base. Charlie Kirk was liked and loved by many people, apparently. Not just Candace Owens. You're saying she's the only one doing something. What is she doing? I want documentation and evidence because she proved that the letter was not a sign of Charlie Kirk denouncing being a pro-Israel. She failed to prove anything with that letter. When the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu, posted the letter, which I wish he stopped doing. The Israeli Prime Minister needs to stop responding to Candace Owens. Just because she said something doesn't mean he has to pay her any attention. Benjamin Netanyahu, stop responding to this girl. You are a leader of a whole country. Just because she's saying something and challenging you on something doesn't mean you have to give her any energy with that. Stop responding. You're putting information out there for her to try to utilize and weaponize against you. Just stop doing it. And I would say that for anyone. Candace Owens seems like she's just trolling all of humanity at this point. Stop entertaining it if you are president or leader of a country. Netanyahu, you don't have time to do that. So if she wants to sit here and talk about, release the letter. You've done that. Don't do anything else. He released the letter, and now she's going to give her thoughts and ideas on this letter that debunked the bullshit she was putting out there. And I'm saying it. I read the full letter, Candace, and a whole life. I read that letter, and it debunked Candace's bullshit. So at this point, the Israeli Prime Minister needs to focus on leading a country and not responding to Candace Owens.
Kirk, he was saying and doing a little too much, and his energy was weird, and the energy of Tiffany Barker was weird, and we were clear that's potentially just because, he's a politician, or an aspiring politician. Maybe he wants to assert himself as a leader in Utah, this assassination that's taken place. But I also felt like maybe he potentially knew a bit more than he was letting on. Now, the Lyman family in general was everywhere, all over this investigation. We introduced, and I said his name was Shane. I'd like to correct that record. His nephew, Shaner Broderick, who rather notoriously retraced the footpath of the killer with his 2 close friends. They were like, here it is. The Converse footprint is right here. They even created a...
Candace, anyone can go back and retrace footsteps. They can go in and dig a little deeper and do what you're doing, plus some, and produce evidence on it. You can't get mad because someone else is showing interest in this execution we all saw on national television. What the hell is wrong with you? She's sitting here acting as if she's the only one that's supposed to be talking about it and showing some interest on it. No, Candace, you're not. You're not the only one that can sit here and speak on it. You're just not. So just because other people are doing on just foot groundwork here, why haven't you gone and retraced the steps? Here's a better question to Candace Owens and her fans. Why hasn't Candace Owens gone out to the campus herself, did a live stream while she was out there, and retraced the steps? Why don't she do that? Go get boots on the ground, Candace, and go out there and you go to the rooftop, go down the stairs, go down the same path that the alleged, shooter, Tyler Robinson, that he went from the roof, all of that. Entertain the other theory about another shooter on the side of the building where Charlie was. Go through all the footprints and retrace all the steps of both alleged shooters, whomever else. Stand in the middle where he was sitting. Retrace everything that happened. Why don't you do that? That's a good idea. Because, you seem to have a lot of time on your hands. So go out there and do that. Why don't you do it? You don't want anybody else doing it? You go do it, Candace.
Map, okay? Chainer even created a map of where exactly the killer walked, and the media used his map. Of course, Phil Lyman's car was in the driveway just 20 minutes before Phil Lyman reiterated to Fox News, which is 20 minutes before I pulled into the driveway at my aunt's house and I parked my car. And then 20 minutes later, the killer was limping by. Now, I'll let you guys know that when our episode finished yesterday, I had a message or two from Phil Lyman, despite the fact that I had reached out to him hours before we began our show. And he was understandably upset. He at first
you're doxing his nephew. You're sitting here talking about his mother. Who is she? You're insinuating a whole lot of things that's going to get you a whole lot of lawsuits. And then you have over 5 million supporters in YouTube alone. 5 million subs. Every time she says something, you sick your entire base after these people. They're calling, they're emailing, they're probably harassing these people. And for what? Why don't you get your ass up, Candace, and get out there and go be boots on the ground? Take some of your supporters with you. They'll protect you. Since you feel like you're scared, you go out there and do what they did. Create a map. It seems like she's more jealous and upset that other people are doing things regarding Charlie Kirk's death more than what she's doing. She didn't even go to the funeral. And she wants to sit here and talk about, it's because, I fear for my life and I'm pissing off the FBI. You worried about that now? You have 5 million subs. Why don't you get 1 million of your supporters to go out there with you? Make this a whole event. They'll protect you.
Focusing his energy toward Nick, the person that I told you worked on his campaign and just wanted to help out in the investigation. Now, Phil would like me to clarify that Nick never worked on his campaign. And by the way, I looked back and that was actually my mistake, not Nick's. I thought that when Nick had first introduced Lyman to me over the phone, that he said, I am, I'm working on his campaign. And apparently that was not accurate. So I take full credit for that. That was completely, again, something that I came up with by accident.
Yeah, you came up with that on your own because you're running off at the mouth and you're not fact checking anything. You don't come up with something like that by accident. That is purposeful. This is why you should do your due diligence before you go out and do a video. If you don't like what they've done, Candace, you can go out and retrace some steps as well. Take half of your supporters with you. Why don't you put out a post saying, hey guys, how many of you are willing to meet me at UVU? I'm going to retrace the steps of the shooter, and I need some people out there that's going to support and protect me because I've pissed off the FBI and all of pro-Israel, and and I just fear for my life, but I would like to do that. And I can guarantee you, out of 5 million people, you'll get a good 500,000 that'll meet you out there. Yeah, she got a lot of diehard supporters there. They'll meet you out there and protect you. When you're a Christian, Candace, you're not supposed to have any fear. God is not going to let you check up out of here until he's ready for you to check up out of here, right? So, you walk by faith and not by sight. You're not supposed to be fearful of anything, right? Isn't that what you said?
And now The other things that he was interested in me clarifying were also not really substantive issues. And I want to say that Nick, having not worked on his campaign, actually makes it even more odd that he would stop by his house this past Saturday. Well, regarding why, by the way, he stopped by Nick's house at all on Saturday, he said that it was because he was helping Nick out early on in the investigation. Yes, that is true. I told you guys that. And Nick was particularly asking him to determine who owned a white vehicle that was parked in the neighborhood, which was nearby where the shooter had walked. Nick lives nearby. And everyone locally had looked at this vehicle.
Okay, all she has to do is correct her mistakes here. And yes, I muted her because this is outrageous. And, you know, at the end of the day, Candace is not trying to correct the things that she got wrong. That's what she should be doing here. Not sitting here making it seem as if, well, it's even more odd. No, it's not. And you're inciting your base to go after these people, and for what?
And why that would be on his list of things to do. Now, I am told, according to a very strong source, that what Phil Lyman was doing in town on Saturday was he was meeting with Tim Ballard. That's totally random. Did not expect to hear that. Tim Ballard, if you're not familiar with him, is formerly of Operation Underground Railroad, which is a charity that is dedicated to helping to stop human sex trafficking. I even remember, by the way, when we were all speaking about that plane.
Is that a bad thing? He's helping to stop human trafficking. Isn't that a good thing? Shouldn't we all be helping to stop human trafficking? Why is that odd for her? What is she doing?
Under that turned off that the individuals that owned that plane were wearing an Operation Underground Railroad t-shirt. So I wasn't expecting that. I am going to reach out to Tim Ballard. I know him. I've actually interviewed him, and I used to donate to that charity because I was so moved by my interview with him when I was working for Prager University. But moving on from that, Phil also disputes something.
I hope he tells you no, because this is getting ridiculous. Yeah, I don't. What's his name? Tim Ballard. You need to tell her no and hang up the phone and sleep peacefully. And if her cult members come after you, report all of them, because this is getting out of control, Candace. You have no idea how much, attention and energy you're shifting towards someone when you say their name and you're trying to imply something. It makes no sense, Candace.
I've actually interviewed him, and I used to donate to that charity because I was so moved by my interview with him when I was working for Prager University.
He needs to tell you no.
But moving on from that, Phil also disputes something that was quite strange, that Shayna stopped. The attacks that are coming at me are good, though, because I am just feeling more and more energized by them. I understand exactly what is going on. The people fighting for Charlie Kirk's legacy. I got to say this. You know what? I am starting to think, and let me know if you think this is crazy, but I'm starting to think that the assassination of Charlie Kirk was something akin.
Candace, no one is attacking you. You want this attention. This is why the Israeli prime minister needs to stop responding to you. He needs to continue on with life as if you don't exist in his reality. Tim Ballard needs to tell you no. Phil Lyman needs to file a lawsuit if you're going to keep putting him and his family in jeopardy, and include all of the people that are calling him and emailing him and harassing him now, because you're sitting here trying to make him some target that he shouldn't be. You gotta get to a point where you're crossing the line with harassment. You have 5 million subs. You have no idea what some of these people are willing to do in the name of Candace Owens. And they don't care whether or not it's a cybercrime. They don't care. And you should be concerned about that. You don't care how powerful your platform is. You're weaponizing that power right now to do what? To try to debunk everybody who's actually out there, boots on the ground, retracing the shooter steps and all these other things. Other people that are concerned about what's going on may or may not believe the FBI. They're trying to piece things together themselves, but they're presenting documentation to the FBI that the FBI is using like a map. And you're not doing any of that because you're scared to come outside. You have all these people that are willing to support you. They're willing to protect you. You can hire more security. You're worth $220 million. You could be doing these same things, Candace, and you're not. And now you're sitting here throwing people out there, carelessly with no consequence. And you're making them targets. And for what? Who cares who's Lyman's nephew and all this other stuff? That stuff is so irrelevant.
To a regicide, right? The assassination of a king. to install a new ruler who the king would have never approved of, right? Maybe people around him
Charlie Kirk's wife is now the CEO of Turning Point USA. So what are you saying? What are you saying, girl? You talking about who the king would have never approved of? Charlie Kirk was the king. His wife was the queen. You're not.
for Charlie Kirk's legacy. I gotta say this. You know what? I am starting to think, and let me know if you think this is
crazy, shut up.
But I'm starting to think that the assassination of Charlie Kirk was something akin to a regicide, right? The assassination of a king to install a new ruler who the king would have never approved of, right? Maybe people around him counseling the king, people who perhaps betrayed him, because there are just too many things that I am finding out that are not adding up to me, okay? There are also, I do want to say this, too many first times leading up to this event, okay? What? One person who emailed me said, hey, I've been supplying bulletproof vests to Charlie for all of these campus tours. And suddenly last spring, the last campus tour, they canceled my contract with them. They did not want to renew. When I asked them why, they told me that Charlie wanted to go a different direction by getting an army vest instead, like a metal army vest, I believe is what he says. And he said, this made no sense to me. I didn't understand it. Okay. So Charlie decided to use a new company, even though I don't think he was.
But he wasn't wearing a vest the day that he was assassinating, wasn't wearing a vest. I mean, that's just logic and based on the video footage. He was not wearing a vest. Too many people who are tacticians, marksmen, military veterans, and active duty members can see that he was not wearing a vest. All right? Unless he was wearing something that's skin-like and adhered to his body sort of thing. He was not wearing a vest. And the people that carried him out can confirm that. They can confirm whether or not he was wearing a vest. Where's the autopsy report? Because I personally want to review that myself. You know, documents that actually would make sense to me. You know, and even if it's a lie, there are other things that can be, you know, researched to debunk it. But at least post the autopsy report. Maybe you should be advocating for that, Candace. Why don't you advocate for the autopsy to be released? I mean, I don't understand why you attacking the new king or ruler of TP USA is Erica Kirk.
Actually wearing a bullet vest on that day. So what happened there, I'm not sure. Something else that is really bothering me just because I have done these campus tours is the question of why Charlie was set to do 2 events in Utah a mere 20 days apart. Okay. He was supposed to do UVU, and then today was scheduled to do, just 20 days later, USU. Now, those 2 campuses are just under 2 hours apart if you're driving. Why on earth would he schedule these events apart? It's not how Turning Point USA normally decides on their events. If you're going to do 2 stops in one state, they make it happen back to back because it doesn't make sense from a fuel perspective, from a traveling perspective, for you to go in and out of one state. Plus, they only have a limited number of events, right? So they want to make sure they can go all over the United States and see as many students as possible during every tour. This is how it works. I know how it works because I came from Turning Point USA, okay? I have toured with them every year with the exception of this year, since I started working for Charlie. So that just struck me as very odd. Okay?
It's not odd.
We've also received, or maybe I should say, maybe not odd, just something new, maybe.
It's not odd.
We've also received a lot of tips that the hospital that Charlie was taken to is not the closest hospital, and it also would not have been the #1 choice hospital.
Was the hospital on a diversion, Candace? Did you ask that? Did you ask, was the hospital on a diversion? Candace, I know you watch. Call the hospital and ask them, were you guys on a diversion? Can you ask them that before you go out and try to make these insinuations? Can you ask them who was the physician on call? Who would have been the main surgeon on call for the emergency department? Was it on a diversion? You know, what was the reason? Why don't you contact the hospital, patient relations, or you can contact the spokesperson, the media relations department, and ask them some questions, Candace. Good grief.
For someone that was suffering from that sort of a wound, like it was a trauma 3 center. He was taken to a smaller regional hospital that was a little farther away and was also less equipped for the trauma that he suffered, that he was taken to Timpanogos Regional Hospital. And also something new is that hospital had just announced that they had a brand new CEO and head surgeon named Andrew Zenger. A lot of new stuff happening. And to be clear, typically the states dictate the protocol, and you're required to, after you have a certain number of attendees at an event, you are required to have an ambulance on standby. And I don't know Utah state law, but I also found that
you don't
weird.
know Utah state law? Why you just didn't Google it, Candace? How about this? Let me help you out. Utah state law, because we're doing this on ambulatory standby. Yeah, the standby ambulance. Standby by ambulatory services. You know, you could just Google this, Candace. You have a team of people. Just research it. Okay, here we go. Y'all want to see it? Here it is. Here's the evidence right here. Because, you know, reading is fundamental. In Utah, the standby ambulatory services are governed by the Emergency Medical Services Act. Candace, did you know how to Google this? You understand, you research stuff like this. You got to make sure you use proper terms so you can get the right information. Ambulatory services, okay? That's how you research that. All right. This law requires ambulance providers to have designated personnel, equipment, and supplies to the scene of emergencies. Additionally, the Utah Administrative Code, Title R as in race 432, Rule R as in race 432-500 outlines the regulations for freestanding ambulatory surgical centers, which may include specific requirements for ambulatory services. For detailed legal text, you can refer to the official Utah State Legislature website or the Utah Administrative Code. So here's some information here, Candace. Go on justia.com, regulations.justia.com. So click on states, click on Utah and health. I mean, and then you go from there. Here's information here. There's no reason for you to not know the law. Ignorance of the law is not a defense, Candace. You can Google it. Research this stuff. So you go from there and then you find out why they weren't there. For an event like that, I agree. There should have been an ambulance or ambulatory services on standby along with sufficient law enforcement and had the fire department on alert. That also would require for you to understand, you know, the policy and regulations regarding events like that at the actual campus. So you need to look up UVU's regulations when it comes to having these events and what is required with these types of events based on a certain number of people, where it is, you know, accessibility to medical services, to law enforcement, to the fire department. All of those things should be outlined and in place. But go and research that information before you come on a video vomiting this nonsense.
That there wouldn't have been an ambulance on standby. Correct me if I'm wrong, but seemed atypical to me. Now, in terms of other things that were new, they announced on that same day that Andrew Zenger was announced as new CEO. That was also the day that they announced Charlie's tour. They announced 5 dates, and 2 of them were in Utah, dispersed throughout the month. And it is also interesting to know that the Utah FBI nation, that is true. He fired the chief, among other people, and replaced her with Robert Bowles in August. I think Robert Bowles, actually, it was his first week when FBI Charlie got shot. And he's somebody who has been in D.C. for decades. So it seems to me to be
go back a little bit.
Patel went ahead and fired not only the chief of the Utah borough, but also some other people. You can see this in the Daily Mail article. They recount this after Charlie's death. Cash Patel questions grow as it's revealed he gutted the Utah FBI leadership before Charlie Kirk's assassination. That is true. He fired the chief, among other people, and replaced her with Robert Bowles in August. I think Robert Bowles, actually, it was his first week when Charlie got shot. And he's somebody who has been in D.C. for decades. So it seems to me to be an unusual placement to then want to re-up your entire life, assuming you have a wife and kids, and move to Utah. But whatever. Again, everything just feels a little.
I'm sorry. Where have you been, Candace? This happens with every new administration too. Perhaps you should be calling Trump and asking him, why are you allowing, you know, this type of turnover to occur under your leadership? You know, that's a great conversation you and Trump should have. You know, the new administration, you know, they have these secretaries put in place of different agencies, and then these agency heads, they go in and replace certain people apparently at their discretion. perhaps you should be getting to the top of that by starting at the head. Start with Trump, your president, that you supported once upon a time. I don't even know what is her stance with Trump now. So why don't you ask him, why do you have such a turnover happening in crucial departments under your leadership? Why can't you all get some stability? Why did you allow Kash Patel to do all these hiring, the firings and replacements and blah, blah, blah? You should start with the head and ask him that.
Too brand new to me. Then I speak to the individual
Not
who I told you
brand
guys
new.
I
It's what
recognized
they do.
and had taken down the cameras minute 4 after
You
Charlie
can't
was
make this
shot. The
stuff
back
up.
camera of all the ones when you take the front camera. I don't know. Again, I'm not here to read into how people might
I don't
act
know.
in an emergency event, but I thought it was weird that he was there in general, actually, that he was
You
behind
can't
Charlie
make
the
this up.
entire time. I've never seen that. He's never been behind me at an event. He's never been lingering around me at an event. And I asked about that. I asked about just his presence behind Charlie, and plus
He's
the
a
mysterious phone call
guy.
that he was seen making in like minute 3 after Charlie was assassinated. And
Lori can't reach for the phone anymore. Isn't these a security detail? Okay, so obviously Candace is going to get a whole new security detail because, security detail standing behind someone is now odd. I would love to know what your setup is going to be with your security detail when you finally decide to leave the house. I mean, think about it. What reason does she have to leave the house? Kids are being homeschooled, which is fine. She's mom. She makes that decisions with that. Here in the Lady Luck Club, I have no quarrels with what people decide to do with their kids as long as they're not hurting and harming them. She wants to homeschool her kids. That's great on her. But when you leave the house, how do you expect your security detail to surround you and protect you? How is that formation going to go? So they're not supposed to stand behind you when you're sitting down? What do you expect?
And he told me explicitly that they were trying something new that day. Like it was something new. Charlie's super ambitious. And on the AV thing, they were trying something new and they wanted to be able to feed it back instantly to Arizona. None of it makes sense to me because these events are typically live streamed. But again,
it doesn't have to make sense to you, Candace. If it's what Charlie Kirk wanted and these are the decisions that he was making, you're targeting the wrong people here. You're going to have to be okay with the decisions that Charlie Kirk made. Bottom line, his wife becoming the new CEO of Turning Point, you're definitely going to have to get the hell over that.
Something new. Okay. So let's stick with that theme. Do you want to know something else that was brand new leading up to this event? Charlie's perspective on Israel. Okay.
Yeah,
so let me say this so you can hear it.
Yeah,
Charlie Kirk's perspective on Israel was not starting to shift. It had shifted entirely. Okay. There are no ifs and
where's
there are no
the
ands. Proof
proof on that? I want
Israel
evidence.
knew that. Turning Point USA knew that because Charlie was explicit. So my question is, why isn't Turning Point USA making any statements and shutting down this repeat attempt by Israel to lie and to pretend that towards the end, Charlie was just authoring love letters?
They're not shutting it down because it's the truth. His stance was not shifting on being pro-Israel. He wrote a 7-page letter to the Israeli prime minister, whom I hope learns to stop responding to Candace Owens. Don't respond to her. She's throwing a tantrum. Let her get it out. But don't respond to every little thing she says. You're the leader of an entire country. Unless you're going to file a lawsuit against her for defamation, you and Macron might be able to share some ideas here. Stop responding to Candace Owens. You're giving her more attention than she needs. Candace, unless you have evidence to prove any of this, why are you expecting Turning Point to say something otherwise? That to them, everyone over there agrees that he was still pro-Israel and he loved and supported Israel. You're the only one saying he didn't. Where is your evidence to prove that he was completely turning away from being pro-Israel? They don't owe you a response, Candace. Something she has not learned from this lawsuit with the Macrons, which I'm going to go over in a different video.
To Israel, giving them a perspective of here's how we can win the problem. Here's what you guys need to do. You need to work with this Hillel, whatever it is. Yeah, the same people that are calling me anti-Semitic, you need to work with those people harder. And he was just putting it on paper. Was it an email what was that they were sharing on the New York Post, the Israeli Post, right? What were they sharing there?
He wrote posted the letter you wrote. The letter you challenged the Israeli prime minister to post up. He posted it. You're welcome. Candace, you're welcome. He posted the letter you wanted him to post, as if responding to you is his first main full-time job now. But he responded to you. That's an indication that he heard your video. He saw that you were throwing a tantrum and flailing about, and he posted the letter. And now you're sitting here trying to pretend like you don't know what it is. You admitted it was a letter, that he was lying by omission by leaving stuff out of it. So he posted the entire letter. I read it in a live stream. It was a nice letter from someone that is pro-Israel. He gave some ideas. He gave some suggestions, some of which I agreed with, some of which I didn't. And now you don't know what it is? You can't make this shit up.
Nothing else to do in May. Word of his deep love for Israel to letter to Netanyahu. Netanyahu said they were close, but in the letter, Charlie puts his number, which apparently Netanyahu didn't have his number. And we're supposed to believe, did he send that as an email, by the way? Can somebody clarify, was that an email they were sharing?
No,
or did he send it in
the
Post, the Israeli Post, right? What were they sharing there? He wrote of his deep love for Israel. Nothing else to do in May. Word of his deep love for Israel to letter to Netanyahu. Netanyahu said they were close, but in the letter,
look how she glosses over the word in letter. In letter, Candace, you said in a previous video that because Netanyahu only read certain statements from the letter, he was lying by omission. So he posted the entire 7-page letter. And now you don't know what it is. You don't know it's a letter. Girl, you are killing the aspect of journalism right now.
Puts his number, which apparently Netanyahu didn't have his number. And we're supposed to believe, did he send that as an email, by the way? Can somebody clarify, was that an email they were sharing? Or did he send it in the mail to him? Could somebody just share that, please? I'm assuming it was an email. Can someone share the timestamp on that? Just kind of like authenticate that email, because I'm very aware of what's going on. Okay. And I don't.
That would mean that you would have to have a copy of the email to authenticate it. Who in your team can get the email that Charlie Kirk allegedly sent over to the Israeli prime minister? What if he did mail it? What if it were mail? What if it was sent FedEx? What if it was he's something he faxed over? I don't understand. I mean, it could have been an email as a PDF file attached. What difference does it make? He posted the letter you admitted that Charlie Kirk wrote. And he posted the full letter. You wanted it, you got it. And now you're sitting here trying to, was it an email or how did it get to him? You didn't even make an issue of that. So why are you making an issue of it now, Candace? Now it's a problem. How the Israeli prime minister got this letter that, she allegedly somehow wants to forget exists here in this reality on earth. Girl, if you don't stop.
How the executives over at Turning Point USA.
This is crazy.
Okay. I don't know how you can present yourselves as a Christian organization and not be dedicating yourself to the truth. No matter what the cost is, you tell the truth. That's it. Okay. You don't hide.
They are telling the truth. You're the only one that's saying that it's not the truth, and you're not debunking it with facts, with evidence, with documentation. Where is your documentation to show that he completely changed his stance on being pro-Israel? Where is your evidence, Candace? Do you all see now why I'm telling the Israeli prime minister to ignore her? Benjamin Netanyahu, do you understand why you can't keep feeding her information? Why you can't keep responding to her at this point? Do you see why? Because this will never end. She's doing this to get clicks and views. She's not presenting any documentation to show otherwise. Why feed her information when she doesn't care? It's irrelevant. All of this is irrelevant. It's moot. She wants to now sit here and wonder how you got the letter. Benjamin Netanyahu, please ignore Candace Owens. You got to ignore her.
It's not going to be hard. You don't try to say, well, wait until the memorial events before we start looking into who murdered him. You tell the truth and you tell it immediately. And I don't think they're capable of doing that. And I have an idea as to why that is. I think the same people that were pressuring Charlie are pressuring them. In fact, I know that for a fact. So they might need my help.
Pressuring them who?
I'm going to state this, and I'm going to challenge Turning Point USA executives to issue a very...
So Erica Kirk, she's challenging you to issue a very clean statement to say that she's lying. It's not something you should be doing right now, Erica Kirk, because you're mourning the loss of your husband, that, whose death we all saw on national television. It was already, traumatic in and of itself. But no. Candace Owens wants you to prove to her something. And I mean, really, all you need to do is do a post on Twitter X or whatever it is saying Candace lied, the end. And then you can keep living. It doesn't even have to be long. A very clean statement, she said, saying that I am lying. Candace is lying. Period. That's your whole post. That's it. And then underneath it, put in parentheses, thank you, Lady Luck Club, for teaching me not to feed the trolls.
Clean statement saying that I'm lying if this is not true. About 48 hours before Charlie Kirk died, Charlie informed people at Turning Points, as well as Jewish donors and a rabbi, that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause outright. Okay, Charlie was done. He said it explicitly that he refused to be bullied anymore by the Jewish donors. Can you guys answer? Did he express that? Did he also express that he wanted to bring me, Candace Owens, back because he was standing up for himself? And then did he, just 48 hours later, conveniently catch a bullet to the throat before our onstage reunion could happen? It's a yes or a no. Okay, let's stop this ditching.
She said that they were supposed to have an onstage reunion. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. So she wants the executives there, including Erica Kirk, because she's the CEO. Candace, you do realize the acronym CEO means Chief Executive Officer. You're asking for the executives of Turning Point, which would naturally include the Chief Executive Officer, to call you a liar when you have not presented evidence to show that Charlie Kirk has shifted completely on being pro-Israel. Why aren't Charlie Kirk's other friends that have podcasts and YouTube channels and all that other stuff, why aren't you all calling Candace a liar? Why are you all not defending this against Candace? Because this is getting out of control.
Fact. So they might need my help. Okay, I'm going to state this.
Do they need your help?
Challenge Turning Point USA executives to issue a very clean statement saying that I'm lying if this is not true. About 48 hours before Charlie Kirk died, Charlie informed people at Turning Points, as well as Jewish donors and a rabbi, that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause outright.
Name the rabbi, Candace. Who's the rabbi? The Jewish donors. Who are those people? Who are the donors? Who's the rabbi? You said all lies will be revealed, right? So you should not have any shame in naming these people. You got 5 million people that would defend you and support you, and they'll protect you. They'll protect you. So name the Jewish donors and the rabbi. Show whatever evidence you have to prove that he shifted his stance and he wanted some sort of, weird ass reunion with you on stage. Never mind his wife, because Erica Kirk is still a person that exists in this reality as the CEO of Turning Point. But we're going to forget Erica Kirk exists because reasons. Candace Owens is mad. Oh my God.
Turning Points, as well as Jewish donors and a rabbi, that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause outright. Okay, Charlie was done. He said it explicitly that he refused to be bullied anymore by the Jewish donors. Can you guys answer? Did he express that? Did he also express that he wanted to bring me, Candace Owens, back because he was standing up for himself? And then did he, just 48 hours later, conveniently catch a bullet to the throat before our onstage reunion?
Is she asking?
He said it.
Is she asking?
Saying that I'm lying if this is not true. About 48 hours before Charlie Kirk died, Charlie informed people at Turning Points, as well as Jewish donors and a rabbi, that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause outright. Okay, Charlie was done. He said it explicitly that he refused to be bullied anymore by the Jewish donors. Can you guys answer? Did he express that? Did he also express that he wanted to bring me, Candace Owens, back because he was standing up for himself?
Wait, is she asking a question? You want to meet Candace Owens back because he was standing up for himself? Is that a question you're asking, or are you making a statement? Is that how you're trying to get around defamation, Candace? Because that's not going to work. And you already know that because you're in court now with another leader of another country because you flat out said that this woman was born a man and you purported that to be a fact. So we already know you asking these questions like this is not going to slide over with, it being considered free speech and expression when you're making these statements over and over and over again. It's the repetitiveness of it all. And you're not debunking or proving anything you're saying with evidence. So are you asking here if he was sent up? The answer is no. He was not seeking to have a reunion with you. He did not shift his stance on being pro-Israel. Now, we all know Candace is not going to accept the answers that I'm giving right now because she has not shown any documentation to prove otherwise. But if she's asking a question, then the answers are going to be no, no, and no. And she doesn't want to hear that. So what difference does it make to even feed the troll at this point? What difference does it make? We're just talking about it because I'm just finding this to be disturbingly hilarious right now because she has clearly lost her damn mind. And now she's challenging Turning Point executives, including Erica Kirk, who she said was the only other person aside from her husband that could get her to shut up. And if Erica Kirk has to speak and get you to shut up, I hope she does it in a mighty way. And where it's very plain and clear and simple. He was not bringing Candace Owens back. He was still pro-Israel when he died. Candace Owens is lying. Period. Thank you, Lady Luck Club, for telling us not to feed the troll. Because that's what this is. Candace, this is troll-like behavior. You're trolling all of humanity. You're trolling Turning Point. You're trolling the entire country of Israel. You're trolling everyone, and you're not presenting any documentation. You're trolling everybody. Just provide some documentation. You don't have to ask questions if you're saying that these are lies that Turning Point is saying. Who are the Jewish donors? Who's that rabbi you're talking about? Name them. You didn't have a problem naming Phil Lyman and his nephew and all these people whose names you got wrong, by the way. You didn't have a problem naming those people. Why don't you name the Jewish donors and that rabbi? Go ahead.
And then did he, just 48 hours later, conveniently catch a bullet to the throat
Oh,
before our on-stage reunion could happen? It's a yes or a no. Okay.
No.
Let's stop this ditching. Let's stop the dodging. Let's explicitly, I want.
No. I don't even have to follow Turning Point USA to be able to say no. No. He did not change his stance on being pro-Israel. No. This was not about him doing a reunion with you. No. His wife is the CEO of Turning Point. You will never be that. The end. And it seems like she's trying to discredit it so that she can be the executive director of Turning Point USA. And it's a horrible way to go, Candace. You got 5 million subs on your YouTube channel. Why isn't that good enough for you? Why is that not good enough for you? So she's selling all 5 million subscribers. I don't give a damn about none of y'all. I was supposed to be on stage with Charlie Kirk and quite possibly become the next CEO of Turning Point if anything happened to him. He was going to reunite with me. Girl, you got a whole husband and 4 kids at home. George cannot be happy with you obsessing over Charlie Kirk right now. There's no way. Either that or he doesn't care. He's got a girlfriend on the side. How is this going?
Express that. Did he also express that he wanted to bring me, Candace Owens, back because he was standing up for himself? And then did he, just 48 hours later, conveniently catch a bullet to the throat before our on-stage reunion could happen? It's a yes or a no. Okay, let's stop this ditching. Let's stop the dodging. Let's explicitly, I want to hear from Turning Point USA that I'm lying about that. I want you to say no, it was.
Okay, well, they're going to say, you lied. And no, that's not the case. He was still pro-Israel. You're lying. The end. And when they say that, Candace, you have to move on in life and accept their answer. And if you don't, then they'll know you're just trolling them because that's what it's going to come off. This is no longer you trying to look into the assassination of anything. You're just trying to throw spaghetti at the wall. And you have no proof. And just name the names of the Jewish donors and the rabbi.
Just, he was feeling a little bit of pressure. No, I want you to literally answer what I have just said. It either happened or it didn't. I'm either making it all up or
you're
it happened exactly as I'm saying. And while we're at it, may I ask, what is the name of the Jewish donor who sponsored the Hamptons weekend? Okay. And to Pastor Rob McCoy, word.
Wait, what is the Jewish donors that sponsored the Hamptons weekend? Why do you not know that? I thought you said you did. I thought you said you had all this information. You said, I'm in the know, right? You said that there were Jewish donors that Charlie Kirk, had turned away. There was a rabbi. What are their names? You're asking those same sponsors are probably the sponsors that you claim Charlie Kirk told to kick rocks to. So if you're saying that there were Jewish donors and a rabbi, why don't you name them?
Are there any LLCs that you or your son were being paid through that sat outside of Turning Point? I'm asking that question genuinely. Yeah, I'm putting the fire here right at the feet of Turning Point because they're going to throw it right back on you. I am genuinely disgusted. I am looking around and wondering whether Charlie's entire life was the Truman Show. None of you guys are behaving in the way that you should be behaving. Okay, there's no way you are letting these lies fly, unless, as I'm hearing, unless it is true that
you're hearing, so you're gossiping, Candace. You're gossiping. You're not even giving, direct evidence or documentation. You're giving us third-person hearsay. This is why you have a whole ass lawsuit against you in court. Third-person hearsay, Candace. That's what this is.
There was a big payday that was on the line. And if Charlie radically stated that he was done with Israel, if Charlie said he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause because of, and I quote, Jewish donors, the behavior of Jewish donors,
name them.
Yes or no.
Name them.
I don't know. Maybe some people didn't want to take that risk that he was going to become Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson at Turning Point USA with all of those presences, so much presence across college campuses. Maybe they didn't want to take a chance. You see, I'm just one person, so it's easy to try to cancel my life and lie on me every second of every day.
Now, you have 5 million subscribers that will not allow that to happen. So I don't think you have to worry about that because they're going to believe every word you say, regardless of whether you give them documentation and proof or not, because you do the thinking for them. You've determined their steps for them. You've already determined how they're going to see this entire situation. They hang on every word you say. And you do it so recklessly and carelessly without consequence. You don't care how large and powerful your platform is, where you can get the attention of world leaders, one of which is suing your ass, and another might be on the verge of doing the same thing, but he at least responded to your behind, posting a 7-page letter from Charlie Kirk. And now you want to doubt how he received it. Not that it exists. You're trying to question how did he get it? And your 5 million subscribers are hanging on every little word without reading, without challenging you, without asking you questions. They're just following the leader. It's disgusting. Erica Kirk, it is high time you tell this girl to shut the hell up.
Got a little bit bigger than Charlie, and I'm no longer going to allow this lie in this narrative. So answer the questions, yes or no.
They don't have to answer you.
I'm going to again challenge you to lie, and if you do lie, I'm going to expose the lies, and I'm going to start dropping videos, actually. So that's where I'm at. Enough.
The videos is not enough, Candace. You need to show documentation of proof in the videos. You're already dropping videos. You've been dropping videos for 2 weeks straight. My Lord, you've been doing that for over 2 weeks straight. Since he died, you've been dropping videos. The only time she did not drop a video was the day it happened and the day after, I don't think. But when she did to my friend, Charlie Kirk. I even had to leave comments in her chat, in the comment section. Are you going to speak on Charlie Kirk's death? And she's been dropping videos ever since. And they've been progressively antagonizing, defamatory. And then you are bringing in other people into this. You're sicking your fan base after them. They're harassing these people. And you're not caring. You don't have no care in the world how this is affecting others when you bring their name up and insinuate them as something. Unbelievable. You've been dropping videos. We want you to drop proof and documentation.
Answer the questions, yes or no. And I'm going to again challenge you. They don't owe you any answers. And if you do lie, I'm going to expose the lies, and I'm going to start dropping videos, actually. So that's where I'm at. Enough of the games. Enough with trying to allow Israel to wrangle a narrative that you know is not true. Charlie did not die pro-Israel. He did not die for Israel. He did not martyr himself as a friend of Israel. In fact, the friends of Israel were pressuring him really badly, and he was done, and he finally stood up for himself. And I'm proud of that.
Somewhere evidence.
You know what? Somewhere Charlie is watching, okay? And I hope he knows that we are reunited, okay? We're on stage right now, and the Jewish donors are very angry about it, extremely angry about it. But it feels good to know that in the end, truth is going to win. So accept my challenge or don't. Before I get to some of your comments.
They don't have to accept your challenge. And I hope that you all understand it. They don't have to accept anything. They're not going to accept anything. If anything, this is an opportunity for Erica Kirk to tell her to shut the hell up. She said that's the only person that can tell her to shut up. Yeah, okay. We're good with that. Shut up. They're going to say Candace is lying. That is not true. The 7-page letter to Benjamin Netanyahu that all of Turning Point and people who knew him are attesting to him writing, saying that these are his words. This is his letter. He wrote his concerns, how he felt. I mean, you might as well call Megyn Kelly a lie. Didn't she also affirm that the letter was true and authentic? They have their criticisms here and there, but he put it in the letter. He addressed some of the concerns he had. The end. Why does Candace think that people owe her information or explanations on things? Girl, you are a mother to the 4 children you gave birth to. Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA, those are not your children. They don't owe you an answer. Where is her husband at? Because he need to reel it in. Hopefully George Farmer sees how dangerous this is for her to be obsessing like this over reuniting with Charlie Kirk on stage. But yet, you okay with that, man? You good with that? You good with her doing over 19, 20 plus videos and some and counting of her just going on the deep end, not proving anything with any documentation? It's becoming an obsession. It's disturbing. So that's all I'm going to check out on that video. Oh my God. This is almost an hour long, and I did not intend on this video being this long, but it's worth it. It's worth it because at some point, either Candace Owens is going to show some proof and evidence, or Turning Point USA, including Erica Kirk, is going to tell her, girl, you are lying through your teeth. None of that is true. They're going to remind her that Erica Kirk was the wife of Charlie Kirk and now the CEO of Turning Point. And they're going to tell Candace Owens vehemently to kick rocks barefoot. You know, keep living. Find something else to talk about. Why don't you get back on Trump about this turnover rate? You're concerned about going on with the FBI and Kash Patel. There you go. Something else to talk about that will be actually fruitful and help Americans. Once again, you're focused on another country to which you don't even reside in. If it was not France and the French president, now you're spearheading some campaign against the Israeli prime minister, who seems to be trying to do what he can to appease her and her people, but it's getting to a point where it's never going to be enough. So stop doing it. Don't feed the trolls. All right, y'all, that's all I got. Make sure you guys check out the description of the video for Dr. Squatch products. We have a partnership with Dr. Squatch. Buy some soap and some deodorant and some toiletries. Dr. Squatch product will be tagged in the video. I do receive a commission on the products that are tagged if you purchase the products through the description of the video. If Candace Owens gets to sit here and talk about all of her sponsors, yes, I'm going to talk about mine. I don't care. I may not have 5 million subs. I think it's a blessing to have, the support, whether it's 27,000 or 5 million. It's a blessing to have these platforms and to have people interested in hearing what you have to say. How you handle that, it shows how mature and responsible you are, and whether or not you truly care about the people that are tuning in. So that's my thoughts and opinions on that. Candace Owens, you're going to get an answer you're not going to like, and it is what it is. So check out the Candace Owens playlist. It's a whole playlist there, and I will have a video at the end that you guys should check out as well. Let's get the views up and the likes up on this content. I don't really care for diehard hardcore cult base. Don't like my commentary. They don't like anything anybody says against her. And let me remind all 5 million of you, she does not pay your mortgage or your rent. She can't get you into heaven, and God will not be asking you, about how do you worship and adore her. All right, so keep that in mind. Judgment Day is going to be a rude awakening for you if you think Candace Owens somehow is God. All right, that's all I got. And until the next one, Lady Luck Club out.